now had our solar system installed, solar as in PV on our roof, we've got some actual numbers which we didn't have a year ago. And why did we do this? Well, we wanted to, again, reduce bills, we could reduce our CO2 emissions, and reduce our gas bill as well, both for water, of course. We thought it was worth a look. This is after we had that journey. We went through that exercise of looking at all the things we could do on the house and decided that solar PV was an easy win. It was relatively inexpensive. It wasn't too disruptive to the house. Bearing in mind that since we bought the house, we've put some engineering flooring down, we've got carpets, it's decorated. Not saying it's perfection, but if we were to do major works now, we would be undoing all the good things we've already done. I should add, prompted by Dan's talk, I said it was 4 hours to put the solar panels in. Yes, it was, but the scaffolding had already been put up outside the house. It wasn't 4 hours in total. But that's done as a separate activity. So we thought it's worth a look. We did exactly what Dan said. We got about 6 quotes from local, relatively local to us installers in Kingston. We used a mixture of word of mouth recommendation, and I actually went to Which. Happens I subscribe to Which. I'm not so certain about some of its reviews, but they've got a list of trusted traders. We'd had some, I shouldn't be saying this, but we had 1 or 2 nasty experiences with Checkatrade rated or qualified traders. So we weren't very happy with 1 or 2 of those. We got our fingers burnt, not quite literally, but anyway. So yeah, combination of both. We got some quotes. Many of these companies will not visit your house. They'll give you a quote, but they won't necessarily turn up at your property. They'll do it from using Google Earth and other facts and just give you a number based on roof size. So be aware of that. Our goal was with a budget. We actually did this, unlike some installers, some installations. Sorry, I'm jumping around, but I've been triggered by a few of the comments. We set ourselves a budget. We said we're going to spend no more than this amount of money. What can we get? Whereas some people may do it the other way around. I feel Dan's done it where he's wanted the best system he could have for his property. Whereas we actually capped it up front. We said we've only got this amount of money, and then we went to these installers and said, what sort of system can we get today with this sum? How do we trade off a battery, number of solar panels, how much energy will we get from that? And that's how we did this. As already mentioned, we wanted a battery. We thought that was going to be important, particularly for the winter months. And we capture reduced energy costs, electricity at night during the winter, and fill our battery up. Our battery's possibly a bit undersized. We also added electric water heating as a last-minute feature, including a solar diverter. We can talk about that in a moment. All these things I've been talking about, others have talked about: suitability roof, slates, direction of structures. We've not got a brilliant roof insofar as the amount of available south-facing roof space on our roof isn't great. So we looked at this 20 years ago, and everyone said, well, not worth doing. But in the interim 20 years, panels have got much more efficient, they're much, much cheaper, so it's a slightly different position today. We've gone through the battery storing inside, outside. There's actually a specific regulation. It's not a regulation, but so it's not mandatory, as I would call it. But there is a document that's referred here that actually gives guidance on where batteries for in-home use of energy storage, where they should go. So this is not complete. So that's what we've got. That's what we've effectively got. We've got 12 panels, 5 kilowatt peak capacity. We've got a 9 kilowatt hour battery and charger. And actually, that's a point Dana mentioned. You've got to be a bit careful when we had our system put in place. I said, say we want to run our washing machine and we want to run a kettle at the same time, because there is a limit to what your inverter will enable. And we went slightly upside. We upsized. We've got a 5 kilowatt capable device, so we can provide, as we understand it, 5 kilowatts into the house from our battery. If you don't look at that, you might find you can't do what I've just described. You can't power 2 large appliances at the same time.
You should be clear out there. It doesn't mean the lights will go out. It simply means you import a little bit from the grid.
Yeah, it means that you've got less of your own stored energy being used and more, as David rightfully points out, more energy coming through your conventional electricity meter. We've got this My Energy Eddy power diverter, which feeds an old-fashioned cylinder. In our case, we haven't replaced our cylinder, we haven't replaced the immersion heater. We could talk a tiny bit about that too. But this is what the panels look like. That's a group of 3 panels on the front, south-facing, and we've got another single panel on this face of the roof here, and then we've got 8 panels on the other face of our roof. Total of 12. 2 separate pictures. One, that's our rather busy consumer unit arrangement with smart meter. That's the smart meter. That's the fuse, or fuse, but an isolator for the solar components. And in our garage, by the door, by the fire extinguisher, in fact, we've got our battery pack, which is a Fox, made by a company called Fox. And then we've got the charger inverter. One unusual thing, relatively unusual, we've got per panel an inverter. Typically, solar PV systems have a inverter that takes what they call a string of panels. Maybe an inverter will have 2 strings of 6 panels. We've actually, because we've got our panels split across 3 roofs, we've actually got individual inverters on every panel. That's the best you can have in today's technology. It means that any shading or problem with an individual panel doesn't affect the other panel. You can also look at the performance of the individual panels. So it's quite good. You pay a little bit more for that. You might ask how much more. I don't know precisely, but maybe a 10% hit, let's say, on price, to have that individual panel inverter technology. But I think it's worth having. Our battery is probably a bit undersized from what we've sort of gleaned during the year. So it's rather small, I'm afraid. In fact, I think if I just move on to the next, this total here. So, some of you may be concerned about actual numbers in terms of saving, and there's a column on the right giving you some ideas, but you've got to be very careful. In our 1 year of ownership, we've generated 4.3 megawatt hours of electricity. Now we're probably running, we don't know precisely, maybe I should know, but I don't know. We're probably now down to about 5 megawatts. Those that heard my earlier talk, we're probably using about 5 megawatt hours of electricity a year if we didn't have solar. But in spite of having solar, we've only used 2.8 megawatt hours of the solar components. We've actually got surplus that we were not able to use during the year. So that extra 1.5 megawatt hours, which is in the second line, that got exported back to our energy supplier Octopus. Now, you don't get very much for that today. You only get about 15 pence per. They're not. Nobody seems to be interested per se in that going back. We would have been better off using it ourselves if we could, but we were either not in the house when the sun was out and we were generating, or we've not got a big enough battery such that we could capture some of that, or a million of variations on the theme. We don't have an electric hob, so when we put our a frying pan on, we're not using that energy that we might have otherwise used. So, and the other thing is our hot water regime, that use of our existing cylinder, old-fashioned immersion heater, we are not getting much energy into that by observation of the app that we've got for managing that. What I'm saying is, if you want to heat your hot water using solar, you probably need to install a brand new super duper cylinder with optimised element placement and so on. Even then, you're not going to make huge savings, but it would be more so. So we've clearly saved some money. If you could use all of it, you could maybe have saved £1,100 in actual bill terms. But we didn't save £1,100 because we didn't use all of it. We've got to compute the amount actually saved and the export. But we've clearly saved money and used a large chunk of that solar energy that we've produced. We've produced more than we thought we would, considering our slightly crazy roof shape. So we think it's been quite good.